is Debbie from Organic Oasis. So if you're growing tomatoes and maybe you can dehydrate, ferment, and you're just kind of burned out, you want to break from that, but you want to use up some of your tomatoes that are left, I have this recipe I'm trying today. It's the no peel slow cooker marinara sauce. It's from Eating Well, and I will post the recipe below. But if you're like me, we're heading into October, we're in fall, we still have a lot of tomato production. I've canned a zillion things and I'm happy about it. I feel lots of gratitude for this. But now I'm just looking for something easy. I'm waiting for the tomatoes to be pulled out and move on because I'm pretty burned out. But also, say you have a small garden and you only have a few tomato plants. You don't plan to can or dehydrate or ferment. You're just looking for some really good recipes to use your fresh harvested tomatoes. I think this recipe may be something that you'll be interested in. So I'm gonna make it today and I will put it in the slow cooker. And then tonight I plan to just put it over some fresh pasta and have it for dinner, Tim and I. So follow along and let's see if it's a good recipe and if it's worth making. Here are the 6 pounds of tomatoes that I just cut up. It's easy recipe. You don't peel the tomatoes. You just cut them in half and cut out the cores. And so follow along and let's see. Okay, so we've got about 3 pounds of tomatoes here, so I've got 3 more to go. Okay, here is my 6.5 pounds of tomatoes. The recipe calls for 2 cups of chopped onion. So I just took 2 purple onions and sliced them up. After this cooks in the slow cooker, you're going to be pureeing it anyway, so I'm not gonna chop up the onion. I just put them in chunks, make it easy on yourself. You wanna make this a quick meal, an easy meal. So there's the onion. Next, it calls for 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. I'm just using this Kirkland olive oil. Calls for 1/4 cup. Next, it calls for 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. If you make your own, awesome. I did not can any tomato paste this season, so I'm just gonna go grab a can. So I'm just using the Kirkland organic tomato paste. Basically, I always like to look at the ingredients. So basically, all it has in it is tomatoes. Oh, here it is. Organic tomato pulp and citric acid. I'm pretty sure the recipe calls for this because it helps thicken it up. Now it calls for 3 tablespoons of finely chopped garlic, As you can see, we use a lot of Kirkland. I'm just putting in 3 big tablespoons. We like garlic. Next, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of finely chopped fresh oregano. And I'm out of oregano. I only have a teeny tiny bit left. So I just dehydrated some basil. So I'm going to substitute basil instead. I think it will still be delicious. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of my oregano. Basil. Next, it calls for 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I think this recipe is pretty forgiving. I'm just using a standard tablespoon, not even my cooking measurement tablespoon. I feel like this is going to be really what you enjoy, what you like for your taste buds. So if you love garlic, put a little more in. If you love basil, put it in. I may even add, I think I'm even going to add some of my pepper flakes that I dehydrated, just to put a little kick in this marinara sauce, just a little bit. Not going to put too much. And make it the way you know you're going to like it. Or if you have kids, make sure, tone it down and make it more basic so your kids will love it. It does call for sugar, 4 teaspoons of granulated sugar. Again, that's going to be up to you. I'm going to put it in. I don't have a sugar problem. And I will sweeten it up and bring out the flavor. So I am going to put some in, but that's up to you. You could leave it out, or maybe you want to put a little molasses in, or not molasses, I'm sorry, maple syrup or honey. I'm just going to use just a little bit of white sugar. Actually, after thinking about it, I'm putting in my brown sugar instead, and I'm cutting the sugar in half. So it says 4 teaspoons of granulated sugar. I'm just going to put in maybe 1 small tablespoon, and I'm going to use brown sugar. I think that brown sugar would taste better in a marinara recipe. Next, the ingredient says 1.5 teaspoons or 1.25 teaspoons of salt, but they want you to put in 1 teaspoon now and then save the rest of the salt for after you cook it to see if you need more. So I'm just going to put in one teaspoon. I am measuring this. I want to be precise. I don't like adding too much salt. I think 1 teaspoon should be good. The last thing on the recipe is pepper, but again, it says wait until you've cooked this, and then you can add your pepper, more salt, or even crushed or spicy pepper flakes at the end, so that you can taste it and make sure you like the flavor. I know I love my crushed pepper, so I put it in already. So now basically the directions say, so next the recipe just says to stir it all up. Let me bring this over so you can see what it looks like here. So you just basically stir up the onion, the olive oil, the tomato paste, the chopped garlic. I put in basil, but any spices, oregano, balsamic vinegar, sugar, salt, a little bit of salt. You put all that in here. And then all you do next is you layer the tomatoes on top. So I take my 6 pounds of tomatoes and I just kind of pour them on top of this. Hopefully they will fit. Here we go. So they're just like this. So I've got my tomatoes in here on top of all of the other ingredients that we put in. And now it basically just says you turn on your slow cooker and you can cook it on high for 2 hours or low for 4 hours. Then you puree it with an immersion blender or put it in a regular blender, and then until chunky. And then they basically say put the lid kind of askew and then cook until thickened at probably another 3 hours on high or 6 hours on low. Then you season it and it's ready to eat. And they recommend you can also, any leftovers, freeze for up to 6 months. So I'm excited to see how this comes out, and I will check in with you in a little bit, in a couple hours, and we'll see how this is going. So the next thing that we need to do here, the tomatoes have been cooking in this crock pot for 2 hours, and now it says to go ahead and either put it in a blender or use this to puree it. So here we go. It is hot, so be really careful when you do this. I have, just to let you know, on this KitchenAid blender, I have a, it's got a rubber thing that I got that snaps on it that protects the non-stick coating so it doesn't scratch it off. So it says to keep it more kind of chunky. So the other thing, notice as I raise this up, if I press it, it starts to splatter out. So keep it low. I think this is pretty good. Now you continue to cook this for about 3 more hours. I have it on high, so I cook it for 3 more hours on high, or you would cook it on 6 hours on low. And as you can see, the consistency is like this. It's nice and thick already. It says to put the lid on and keep the lid on, sort of. Oh, there's a big chunk of tomato. That's okay. So I'm taking a little. I think it's going to be really good. I'll let you know when it's completely done. So now that I finished using the immersion blender to blend it up, it says to cook it for 3 more hours. And of course I'm cooking it on high, but if you were cooking it on low, it would be 6 hours. But they say to cook it, to thicken it up even more, to cook it with the lid askew. So I'm just gonna put this spoon in here and cook it like that. And I will let you know in 3 hours how it tastes. Thanks for watching. So this delicious marinara sauce was finished last night, and tonight I made a pasta dish. I just sauteed some sausage and zucchini from the garden, and then added some pasta that I cooked in the Instant Pot and threw in the sauce. Very basic. And just to let you know, this sauce I like it a lot. It's gonna be very different than if you're used to buying canned in the grocery store marinara sauces and spaghetti sauces. This is very, very mellow, sweet. We did add some brown sugar, remember? But very mild. It feels low acidic, mild, delicious, fresh. I think kids would like it because it doesn't have a strong flavor. I think that if you want a stronger flavored sauce, you might add some red wine to it. There's a lot of things you could do to kind of make it have a deeper flavor, but right now it's delicious the way it is. If you follow along, subscribe to Tim and my channel, Organic Oasis, and we're in California. We plan to post more recipes and ideas for using, not just growing things in your garden, but also how to use them. And We are also in suburbia, so if you live in suburbia, you live in a small space, a condo, an apartment, or have a very small backyard, we will show you how you can grow in smart pots or grow bags, and then the delicious things you can create with them. Follow along, and thank you so much for watching.